Come with me, and you'll be in a world of pure imagination. Take a look, and you'll see into your imagination.
We'll begin with a spin, traveling in a world of my creation. What we'll see will defy explanation.
Close my eyes and I can see a world that's waiting up for me, that I call my own. Through the dark, through the door, through where no one's been before, but it feels like home.
They can say it all sounds crazy. They can say I've lost my mind. I don't care, so call me crazy.
We can live in a world that we desire. Every night I lie in bed, brightest colors fill my head, a million dreams are keeping me awake. Think of what the world can be, vision of the one I see. A million dreams is all it's gonna take. Oh, a million dreams for the world we're gonna make. Come with me, and you'll be in a world of pure imagination. Take a look, and you'll see into your imagination.
Begin with a spin, traveling in a world of my creation. What we see will defy explanation.
If you want to view paradise, simply look around and view it. Anything you want to do it.
Wanna change the world?
There's nothing to it.
However big, however small, wanna be part of it all. Share dreams.
You may be right, you may be wrong, but say that you'll bring me along to the world you see, to the world I close my eyes to see, I close my eyes to see. 'Cause every night I lie in bed, the brightest colors fill my head, a million dreams are keeping me awake. I think of what the world can be, a vision of the one I see. A million dreams is all it's gonna take. A million dreams for the world we're gonna make. For the world we're gonna make.
Wow, that was amazing. Thank you so much, Gavin and Reese. Speaking of pure imagination, Jesus often taught using ordinary images from everyday life. Seeds, dirt, birds, fishing nets. Today it's a field where wheat and weeds grow together. His listeners expected a lesson about farming. Instead, Jesus offers wisdom about living in an imperfect world. He reminds us that faith isn't about rushing to judgment. It's about trusting that God is still at work, even where we can't see yet the harvest. The scripture reading is as follows. He put them before them another parable. The kingdom of heaven may be compared to someone who sowed good seed in his field, but while everybody was asleep, an enemy came and sowed weeds among the wheat, and then went away. So when the plants came up and bore grain, then the weeds appeared as well. And the slaves of the householder came and said to him, "Master, did you not sow good seed in your field? Where then did these weeds come from?" He answered, "An enemy has done this." The slaves said to him, "Then do you want us to go and gather them?" But he replied, "No, for in gathering the weeds you will uproot the wheat among them. And let's let them both grow together until the harvest. And at the harvest time I will tell the reapers, 'Collect the weeds first and bind them in bundles to be burned, but gather the wheat into my barn.'" Then he left the crowds and went into the house. And his disciples approached him, saying, "Explain to us the parable of the weeds of the field." He answered, "The one who sows the good seed is the Son of Man. The field is the world, and the good seed are the children of the kingdom. The weeds are the children of the evil one, and the enemy who sowed them is the devil. The harvest is the end of the age, and the reapers are angels. Just as the weeds are collected and burned up with fire, so will it be at the end of the age. The Son of Man will send his angels, and they will collect out of his kingdom all causes of sin and all evildoers, and they will throw them into the furnace of fire, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Then the righteous will shine like the sun in the kingdom of their Father. Let anyone who has ears, listen."
Thank you, Tom. May God grant us wisdom and understanding. Weren't Reese and Gavin just absolutely adorable? Yeah. I think that's the youngest sweetheart experience that has happened since I've been here at the church. I love matchmaking, but that one was a surprise to me. I think they fell in love by singing in the choir together. So join the choir. Find your true love. I was expecting someone to mess with the sign out front, living with weeds. I figured somebody by the end of the week would remove the S on the end, living with weed. That might have increased our attendance, I don't know, but one of the great ironies of living in the South Bay is that we claim to love nature, provided that nature stays exactly the way we want it, and the big quake never comes. We love flowers, we love trees, we love butterflies, we don't love weeds. We especially don't love weeds where neighbors can see them. A giant Lucky Tiger tomato plant has taken over the front planter at the manse, and honestly, it does look like a giant weed on steroids. I confess I've been tempted to pull it up many times. Especially I had guests over last night from St. Joe, my high school back in Michigan, and the best I could do was trim it. I just couldn't pull it up. My inner voice does whisper daily, pull up that weedy-looking plant before the neighbors think you've given up on life. Instead, I trimmed it back, which meant throwing away about 12 or more precious little tomatoes that hadn't quite made it to the ripeness yet. It killed me. The South Bay is full of wonderfully kind people and beautifully maintained yards, I might add. Sometimes, and I think, Tom, you have one of the nicest. If you have not been to Tom's house, oh my goodness, the backyard is immaculate, especially. You know, sometimes I think our lawns are under more pressure than our children. Everything around us whispers, be polished, be successful, be healthy, be productive. And I'm talking about nature, and a bird flies in. Literally, that's never happened. In my entire life, that's never happened. Oh my goodness. Thank you, God. Raise accomplished children. Keep a clean garage. Pay attention now. Focus, people. Build a healthy retirement portfolio. And for goodness sakes, don't let anyone see the weeds. And churches aren't much different, and neither are families, and neither are nations, and neither are we. Jesus tells one of his most frustrating parables. A farmer plants good seed. Bye-bye, bird. Thank you. Okay, now we can all focus. Almost. There we go. I did not plan that, by the way. A great illustration, yeah. A farmer plants good seed. Everyone goes to bed. Someone sneaks in during the night and scatters weed among the wheat. I should say weeds. Now, who does that? Seriously, what kind of twisted individual enjoys sabotaging other people's labor of love? Anyway, by morning, the workers discover the mess, and naturally they ask, hey, should we pull them up? And it's the question that every gardener asks. It's the question that every homeowner asks. It's the question that every election cycle asks. Who are the weeds? Where are they, and how can we quickly get rid of them? The farmer's answer feels almost irresponsible. No, not yet. Wait. I don't know about you, but I don't particularly enjoy waiting. Does anybody enjoy waiting? Yeah. Amazon has ruined me. How about you? I mean, if something takes more than 2 days to arrive, I mean, I feel somehow personally wronged. It's taken more than 2 days. How can they say, sorry, it's been delayed? When I was growing up, if I wanted information, I'd go to the library there in St. Joe, Michigan. Today, if Google takes like more than 4 seconds to give me an answer, I think something must be wrong with the Wi-Fi. We've become people who expect immediate answers, immediate justice, immediate certainty. Instead, Jesus offers us patience. I'm tempted to sing a song about patience, but it's not in my script, so I'm not going to do it. Biblical scholars tell us Jesus wasn't making up this farming problem. The weed he describes was almost certainly darnel, and it's a plant that looks remarkably like wheat while it's growing. And the two are nearly impossible to distinguish until late in the season when it's time for harvest. So if you yank one out too early, you often destroy the wheat that's growing beside it because their roots become tangled underneath the soil, intertwined. And so the servant thinks pulling up the weeds would protect the harvest, but the farmer knows, now they might actually destroy the harvest. Isn't that fascinating? Sometimes our certainty causes more damage than the problem we're trying to solve. And I think that might be one of the reasons Jesus tells this story. We humans are extraordinarily confident weed identifiers. If I were to ask you this morning, who do you think's ruining our country? nearly everyone would have an answer. And the answers would be as different as everyone in the room. But none of us would likely say, honestly, we're the problem. Right? It's somebody else. There's an old story about a monastery where the monks became convinced one particular brother was ruining the entire community. He was awkward, he was forgetful, he was socially clumsy, he sang off key, he asked too many questions. Finally, they went to the abbot. "We think he should leave," they said. And the old abbot listened quietly, and then he smiled, and he said, "Well, if he leaves, God will simply supply another one." And the monks were confused. And why would God do that? And he said, "Because apparently you still need someone to teach you patience." This morning's parable really isn't about weeds. It's about us. It's about our desperate desire to simplify a complicated world. We like tidy categories. Oh, good people, bad people. Right, wrong. Conservative, progressive, boomers, Gen Z, Fox News, MSNBC, Dodgers fans. Well, maybe some categories are justified. But you get the point. Life is wonderfully and frustratingly messier than our labels. David Brooks observes that one of our greatest mistakes is thinking that we know someone before we've really heard their story. We reduce people to labels. We reduce people to opinions or that bad mistake in their past. And Jesus refuses to do that. Think about the people Jesus chose. I mean, Peter, very impulsive. Thomas, hey, he doubted. Matthew, he worked for Rome. Simon, he was opposed to Rome. Look at Judas, the betrayer. Jesus even washed Judas's feet. If Jesus had removed every weed from his circle, there wouldn't have been much circle left, right? And I think that's the uncomfortable truth, isn't it? Every church has weeds. Every denomination has weeds. Every political party has weeds. Every family has weeds. Every marriage has weeds. Every pastor has weeds. Yes, even this one. Just ask my neighbors about my tomato plant taking over the front planter. The question isn't whether weeds exist. The question is what kind of people we become while living among the weeds. I think this has enormous implications for civic life because we're living at a time when just mere disagreement can morph into suspicion. And suspicion can become contempt. And contempt can become dehumanization. And before long, we're no longer simply debating with neighbors in a civil fashion. Instead, we're dismissing enemy. Jesus never tells us to stop seeking justice. Far from it. I mean, the prophets demand justice. Jesus confronts injustice. The United Church of Christ has long understood that faith calls us to work for a more just world. But there's a profound difference between opposing injustice and deciding that another human being has become disposable. Jesus never gives us permission to stop seeing the image of God in another human being, regardless of how they vote. Never. Never. The same is true in church. One of the gifts of a congregation like Manhattan Beach Community Church is that we don't all think alike. Thank goodness. Imagine the coffee hour. If everybody agreed with everyone else, it would last just long enough to, wash the donut down and then off we'd go. Healthy churches aren't places where everyone has identical opinions. Healthy churches are places where people learn to love one another deeply, despite their differences. Bruins and Trojans in the same church. Yes, they can make it harder, but I believe they make it holier. The hardest application of this parable really isn't even about politics or churches or sports. It's about us. Some of us spend our lives trying to pull up every weed inside ourselves. We're our worst critic. Fixated on every regret, every insecurity, every mistake, every painful memory. You know, the older I get, the more convinced I have become that maturity really isn't about becoming flawless. It's about becoming honest. It's discovering that God has loved us every single day of our lives, including the days when we have felt the least lovable. The Apostle Paul understood this. He spoke of a thorn in his flesh. He prayed for it to disappear, and God didn't remove the thorn. Instead, God said, "My grace is sufficient for you." God didn't say, "My perfection is sufficient for you." My grace is sufficient for you. You know, there's a Japanese art form called kintsugi. And so if there's a treasured bowl, for example, and it breaks, the artist repairs the cracks with a mixture of lacquer and gold. Perhaps you've seen this. Perhaps you have a bowl like this. The cracks aren't hidden. The cracks are highlighted with gold. And the brokenness becomes actually part of the beauty. The bowl tells the truth about its history. I'm reading a novel by an author who will be here for Cheryl's memorial service, very close to Gary. Gary recommended the novel to me. It's amazing. It's called Martin's Way. And in this book, it's an older man who's looking back on his life, and he's dying. And he's telling the story of his life by looking at the virtues and characters of other people in his life that emulated these virtues. And right off the bat, one of the first virtues is just get honest about your real story. He didn't want to die without including the cracks. That's grace. Not pretending the cracks never happened, but discovering that love can shine through them. Is that what Jesus sees when he looks across the field? Not just the weeds, not just the wheat, but potential, possibility, pure imagination. People still growing, lives still becoming, a harvest not finished yet. One of my favorite stories comes from the life of Mr. Rogers. A television executive once criticized him because his program moved too slowly. "There isn't enough action," the executive complained. "Children," he said, "will lose interest." Fred Rogers smiled gently and replied, "The greatest gift you can give someone is enough time to become who they are." The greatest gift you can give someone is enough time to become who they are. Enough time sounds a whole lot like today's parable, doesn't it? God gives people time. God gives churches time. God gives nations time. God gives us time. Not because God is indifferent to evil and injustice, no, but because God knows that transformation really rarely happens overnight. We live in a culture that's always asking, who should we cancel? And Jesus asks, who still needs compassion? The world asks, who doesn't belong? And Jesus asked, who's still growing? The world asked, who's the weed? And Jesus asks, what if you're looking too soon? This week our calling is surprisingly simple. Before judging, let's get curious. Tell me why you vote that way. Tell me why. Help me understand. Before criticizing, let's listen. Before assuming, let's wonder. Before giving up on someone, let's remember the patience that God has shown us. Every one of us here today is here because God or a parent or a teacher, a friend, a church looked at us when we were more weed than wheat and decided that we were worth loving anyway. And I think that's the miracle of the gospel. Not that God waits until we're perfect, but that God loves us while we're still growing. And thanks be to God for that. All right, I'm going to sing the song at the end here. I wasn't planning. I'm going to do it. Have patience. Have patience. Don't be in such a hurry. When you get impatient, you only start to worry. Remember that God is patient too. And think of all the times when others had to wait for.